Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Clāra, and I'm excited to walk you through my research on the entrepreneurial journey in Vietnam's public relations industry, presented at today's 6th International Conference on Communication and Media Studies. An entrepreneur building a company requires much effort and time investment. Sometimes, as the company grows beyond a certain point, these founders are often considered liabilities of their own business. During the growth stage, founders usually have a conflict between to grow and gain more profit and to retain full control of the firm. This dilemma of growth versus control could hinder the growth performance. With the increased importance of SMEs, especially in the Asia-Pacific region, the demands for research in these topics continues to rise and benefits both the academia and public relations practitioners. This research employs Scott and Bruce's growth model for small businesses. This model looks at the management role, management style, and organizational structure needed for growth, as depicted in the table. This model has 5 stages: inception, survival, growth, expansion, and maturity. For this study, I focus on stage 3, the growth stage. Most research paid attention to growth as an outcome, trying to understand growth through different measures such as assets, market share, output, or profit. In contrast, the study focuses on the challenges during the growth stage and whether to pursue growth. This study examines the different challenges an entrepreneur needs to address because of firm growth and the rationales behind the motivations or demotivations for growth in SMEs. In this study, there are 4 key concepts reviewed in the literature: traits and skills, roles, growth stage, and motivations. And now we will look into each of these. Traits and skills. During the growth stage, the founders who wish to remain engaged in the managerial position usually commence a parallel pathway for personal and professional growth. The traits and skills needed to sustain and grow the business are not the same as those initially required in the launching stage. Besides industry skills, organization and management skills are also required during the growth stage. As the previous literature has a strong focus on the Western companies in general and little attention on Vietnamese companies, the first research question is thus proposed as: what are the traits or skills needed for the Vietnamese founders to control their company during the growth stage? Roles. During the launching stage, a founder takes up multiple roles. If the founder's role is challenged, the whole company will face challenges accordingly. During the growth stage, founders usually face a dilemma when they realize the needs for a professional management team but still refuse to hand over control in important decisions. Not all founders are willing to make necessary changes for a company to grow because to facilitate a company's growth, founders may give up the control of the company and delegate the role to a professional manager. To understand the relationship between the founder's role and the company performance, this research examines the following research question from the founder's point of view. What are the Vietnamese entrepreneurial founders' roles during a company's growth stage? Growth stage. Although it may seem rational that all companies want a healthy growth, in fact, not all founders are willing to or prepared for making necessary changes to grow. Founders often have a conflict between to grow and gain more profit and to retain full control of the firm. The desire to control may diminish the access to external financing or avoid finding a suitable and capable person to work in managerial positions. As a result, this dilemma of growth versus control could hinder the growth performance of a firm. Further, some founders do not like growth because growth is associated with unneeded and sometimes risky changes to the existing company structure and practice, or because they have personal and emotional investments in the company. Thus, they tend to maintain existing business practices and avoid changes. This present study examines such motivations in the growth stage from the Vietnamese founders' viewpoints with the following research question. What influences a Vietnamese founder's role in the company during the growth stage? Motivations. Last but not least, the study examines the motivations. Entrepreneurs have different reasons and motivations to become an entrepreneur. Depending on the motivations to launch the company, the type of business resource, involvement, and motivation to grow the business may vary. In general, entrepreneurs with a business motivator and a drive for achievements are more likely to invest their time and efforts to improve a company's performance. Given these founding motivations, the final research question of my study is, how do a Vietnamese founders' motivations to launch a company affect their motivations to grow the company? In summary, there are 4 research questions examined in this study, which are listed here. The study adopted the inductive grounded theory approach, which is the process of using data collected from field work to identify, develop, and consolidate concepts. I used a series of in-depth interviews with public relations agencies founders in Vietnam. The data were gathered through semi-structured interviews and analyzed for themes and concepts. Grounded theory is the qualitative research design that uses a systematic methodology to generate a general explanation or a theory of a process, action, or interaction. I chose to use this theory to guide the inductive approach of this study. Grounded theory primarily involves interviews to collect data and uses codings as its data analysis strategy. And the data analysis includes 3 steps: coding text and theorizing, memoing and theorizing, and integrating, refining, and writing up theories. It is noted that theorizing is present in all 3 steps, and it is required to build and test the theory repeatedly throughout the project. I used a combination of purposive, convenience, and snowball sampling techniques to recruit participants because Vietnam does not have a public relations association or a directory of practitioners. The total population cannot be identified. Using these sampling techniques and selecting only people with suitable expertise and qualifications, I can save time and effort to locate participants. The participants are the founders of Vietnamese public relations agencies. They should fall under one of the 2 categories. First, a founder who chose to retain control during the growth stage, or 2, a founder who released some control to a delegate during the growth stage. The participants were invited to take part in a 60-minute individual interview via Skype video conference. The results include 63 focus codes, which were then refined into 10 EloQ codes and 3 selective codes. With the purposive and convenient sampling methods, I developed a list of 22 qualified founders of the public relations agencies to be the potential participants. These people were contacted to confirm their eligibility and pick their interest to participate. From the 22 people, 8 responded and agreed to participate in the interview. After each interview, I asked the participants to refer other suitable founders in their networks to participate. The referred founders had their profiles checked, and those whose profiles matched the selection criteria were contacted accordingly. After 12 interviews with the qualified founders, I found a high degree of consistency in theme responses and made little additional change to the codebook. Thus, I consider these 12 interviews as data saturation. The 12 participants were from both genders with different experiences in retaining control or delegating during the growth stage and had varying ranges of experience working in their founded agencies, as seen in the chart. From the initial coding, narrative data collected from 12 participants were grouped into smaller categories and synthesized 63 codes. These are the codes, and I'm not going to delve too much details. Axial coding is a way to construct linkages between data. It involves relating data together to reveal codes, categories, and subcategories. Here, to contextualize the research phenomena, the focused codes were sorted into 10 subcategories. And this is the rest of the axial coding. Selective coding is the final stage of data analysis. The axial codes were integrated and reanalyzed. The subcores and irrelevant concepts were removed. As the result, 3 selective codes were formed: entrepreneurial experience during growth, developing managerial capabilities, and retaining versus releasing control. Entrepreneurial experience during growth. The entrepreneurial experience during the growth stage of all participants is divided into 2 types. The professional, client-oriented experience, where the founders act as a senior public relations practitioner or consultant, and the management experience, where the founders act as a business person. These 2 types are reflected clearly in the participants' perceived challenges during the growth stage and their roles in the companies. Another interesting interview finding is the notion of personal branding as one of the founders' roles. This role is unique for smaller agencies when a founder's image seems inseparable from the agencies, and when most clients prefer to work directly with the person in charge. Developing managerial capabilities. From the participants' responses, there is no consensus over the traits needed to control the company. The traits mentioned in the interviews are determination, self-trust, eagerness to learn, flexibility, positivity, and patience. There is no prominent trait that was agreed upon by the participants. Like the entrepreneurial experience, to develop the managerial capabilities during the growth stage, the participants perceive the skills needed in 2 categories: professional industry-related and business-related. Professional industry skills include professional expertise, updated knowledge in the field, journalism knowledge, and a good understanding of clients. Business skills include management, human resource, and finance skills. Entrepreneurial motivations and pursuit of control. The most mentioned motivations is a business life course, when they took the opportunity, like a business offer or a sizable project as it arose, or when they looked for more challenges in their work by starting up. No participants have mentioned that they wanted to pursue control or high growth when they started their business. And no participants had plans for the business, conducted business markets research or management training in addition to the professional expertise before launching the agencies, and they learned those on the job. During the growth stage, these founders preferred moderate company growth to high growth and would choose a smaller agency size over a growing bigger size. This preference challenges the assumption of growth and personal economy pursuits of entrepreneurs, especially in a less developed country like Vietnam. On the topic of delegation, these founders were open to delegation, but had difficulties finding the right candidate. This notion is also different from the review's literature, as the founders did not present the growth or delegation dilemma. In response to the first research question, there is little consistency in the traits needed for a Vietnamese founder to control his company during the growth stage, which agrees with the reviewed literature, as there is also little consensus on which traits and skills are needed. A possible explanation for the little consistency in the traits is that traits may not directly connect with the company's growth and performance, thus the participants could not recognize and determine the needed traits. Or founders in the public relations industry are usually public relations practitioners who choose to do business, not business people who choose to venture into public relations. Therefore, they are less concerned about whether they are suitable to do business or which traits make them more suitable. Managerial skills are more needed than industry skills to control a company during the growth stage. Founders in this industry are most troubled by managerial challenges. As a result, they focus more on developing their management skills than industry skills. For research question 2, during the growth stage, Vietnamese founders take on the multitasking role that covers all operations of the agencies. While most literature agrees that the founder's role during the growth stage should be different from the one in the launching stage, this is not quite the case in the public relations industry in Vietnam. 10 out of 12 participants in this study mentioned that their breadth of work has not decreased over time, and they continue to be involved in all business aspects from the beginning of the businesses. In response to the third research question, the control versus growth or control versus delegation dilemma was not seen in the interview responses. Vietnamese founders are open to the idea of delegation, but they usually have difficulties finding the right person to delegate. More interestingly, most of the participants who now chose not to delegate were once open to the idea of delegation. No participant discussed the objection to delegation without having tried it before or willing to try it in the future. Further, no participants mentioned the dilemma of growth versus control as the reason for the decision. Instead, whether these founders delegate depends on their experience with a potential delegate, likelihood of finding the right candidates for delegation, or perceived importance to the business. Another finding is that Vietnamese founders see personal branding as an important task to promote the agencies. An interesting insight from the interviews is the strong attachment between a founder and their agency. The participants believe that a founder's image and expertise are an essential asset of their agency. By investing in personal branding, a founder can build credibility and credentials for both themselves and their business. For the last research question, Vietnamese founders are motivated more by the achievements and challenges a business entails than by high growth. The study findings suggest that most entrepreneurs in Vietnam's public relations industry find motivations in the achievements and challenges a business entails when they decided to launch the firms. They are less motivated by financial gains. As a result, their motivation for high firm growth is not significant. They would choose moderate growth, small size, manageable control over profit or other material factors. These motivation profiles are unexpected because Vietnam is an underdeveloped country. It might be assumed that Vietnamese founders' desire for high income, better job security, and improved economic status. In conclusion, the study found that founders in Vietnam's public relations industry are challenge-driven, firmly attached to the agencies while lacking sufficient management skills. These founders appreciate learning and earning opportunities more than company growth and control. Thus, they did not demonstrate the growth dilemma usually seen in SME founders. This is unexpected because previous literature says that the main motivation for Vietnamese entrepreneurs is financial gain. However, in this case, growth and control are not the primary motivation and focus of the founders in this industry. In addition, the results suggest the need to hone a founder's management skills to better address the challenges during the business growth stage and emphasize the different roles a founder can take: client management, business management, and personal branding. This research provides new insight into the Vietnamese SME and entrepreneurship, especially entrepreneurship in the public relations industry. The little agreement in the needed traits may call for a more explicit definition of entrepreneurial traits in this scholarship. Moreover, the findings here challenge the assumption that entrepreneurs pursue growth and usually experience the growth versus delegation crisis. The study also contributes by expanding the limited body of knowledge about Vietnamese entrepreneurship, an area that has not been studied well in Vietnamese public relations agencies. Implications for public relations practitioners. This study also provides guidance to nascent entrepreneurs in Vietnam, especially those in the public relations sector, as founders in this industry are usually lack a business management background or experience. Understanding of what lies ahead in the startup venture will help them better prepare themselves and avoid failure early in the business. Some possible follow-up studies may include a quantitative study to validate the theories generated from this present study, or a qualitative study with a bigger sample size to reach population representation. Further, a similar study to this one could be conducted in the future to continue evaluating other industries in Vietnam or in other countries. Such a study would give insights on which characteristics and decisions are uniquely related to each sector and improve the transferability to other industries and markets. Here is the list of references I used for the study. Thank you so much for your interest and attention. If you have any question at all regarding this study, feel free to contact me. My contact information is right below. Thanks again, and I wish you have a nice day.